The case you're about to see is fictional, but the procedure is authentic. The characters are played by actors, but the jury is selected from members of the public.
Members of the jury, Jeremy George Bell stands indicted with wounding with intent, contrary to Section 18 of the Offences Against the Person Act 1861. And the particulars are that on the 19th day of February 1980 at Fulchester, he wounded Alvin Knight with intent to do him grievous bodily harm. To this indictment, the defendant has pleaded not guilty, and it is your charge, having heard all the evidence, to say whether he be guilty or not.
My Lord, members of the jury, I appear in this case for the prosecution and my learned friend Mr. Fry for the defence. Members of the jury, you have heard the offence with which the accused is charged, and it is a very serious one. All the more serious because the accused is a police constable. The prosecution case is that Police Constable Bell, during disturbances which took place on the 19th of February last year in that area of Fulchester known as the Boroughs, not merely exceeded his duty, but made a violent and criminal attack with a truncheon upon a member of the public, namely Alvin Knight. As a result of this attack, Mr. Knight received severe wounds to the head, and although these have physically healed, Mr. Knight still suffers from severe bouts of depression and persistent headaches. Now, these photographs, Exhibit 1, my lord, were taken soon after the event, and I would like you to look at them at this stage so that you may gauge the severity of the wounds and the gravity of the attack. What is your full name?
Alvin Knight.
And what is your home address?
91 Norton Road, Fulchester.
Will you tell the court your occupation?
I'm a social worker in East Fulchester.
On the 19th of February last year, it is common knowledge, the organisation known as the British Freedom Front held a march through the streets of East Fulchester. Now, will you tell the court what happened to you, slowly and in your own words, what happened to you on that day?
Well, I was opposed to the march. The route was through a sensitive area with a large black population. I visited a lot professionally. I know how difficult life is for them there. And I felt the last thing they wanted was to be aggravated from the outside. So my girlfriend, Sonia Barnes, and I went there to protest. The route was along Agincourt Road. We got there at about 1:45. We stood on the pavement right by the junction of Cressy Lane. It got very crowded. And by the time the marchers came into sight, it was virtually impossible to move. Fights broke out. The police tried to force a passage through the crowds with their horses. Hundreds of people had formed across the road like a human barrier. It got very ugly. People began getting hurt, and I felt it was time to be a bit prudent. As we were leaving, a mob of police, about 20 of them, charged. The number on their shoulder was different from that of the Fulchester police, and I recognised them as belonging to the Mobile Support Unit. As they crashed into us, for a few seconds, it was pandemonium. A few people managed to escape down Cressy Lane, and my girlfriend and I followed. But we didn't get very far because Sonia wasn't able to run.
Had she been injured?
No, but she was wearing high-heel shoes. We ran into the front garden of a house just to escape from the fighting. Constable Bell followed. He charged up to me and began hitting me with his truncheon.
Was there no warning?
No.
Did you say anything either before or after he hit you?
I screamed with pain.
Now, will you show the court how you were standing before being attacked?
Just like this.
And where were your arms?
Here.
Did you strike Constable Bell?
No.
Did you attempt to defend yourself?
No, I couldn't. I was shocked.
How many times were you struck? Can you say?
5 or 6 blows.
Do you remember what happened next?
Well, I was very groggy. Constable Bell dragged me from the garden. I could hear Sonia screaming behind me. There was another policeman standing on the pavement. The two of them grabbed me under the arms and hauled me down Cressy Lane. Then I was bundled into the back of a police van.
Now, when you said they hauled you, were you not capable of walking yourself?
No, I couldn't. If they hadn't been holding me, I'd have fallen down. I thought I was losing consciousness.
What happened next?
More people were thrown into the van. When it was full, we were taken to Fulchester Police Station.
And what happened when you arrived there?
I was taken down to a cell. They laid me on a bunk. A few seconds later, a doctor came down and dressed my wounds. Then I slept for a bit. And then I was taken up to the desk and told I was to be charged with obstruction, breach of the peace, and assaulting a police officer in the execution of his duty.
And did you subsequently appear in order to answer these charges?
Yes, I appeared before Fulchester Magistrates Court on July the 10th last year.
And were the charges proved?
No, I was found not guilty.
Now, since receiving your injuries, you have tried to get to the police to bring this prosecution, but they've declined. Is that correct?
Yes, to no one's great surprise.
So that this prosecution is a result of considerable tenacity on your part.
Oh, my Lord, you're leading the witness, Miss Devonport.
I beg your lordship's pardon. I did not anticipate my friend would object. Mr. Knight, let's just go back to the police station for a moment. After you were charged, what happened then?
Sonia was waiting for me. She drove me to Fulchester General Hospital.
Now, since receiving your injuries, have you been able to return to normal employment?
I've returned, but I don't do the hours I did before. When I'm under stress, I get headaches, and it's a stress-related job.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. Will you wait there, please?
Mr. Knight, will you confirm that this is a private prosecution brought by yourself? I want the jury to be perfectly clear on that point.
It is, my lord.
Thank you.
Mr. Knight, are you familiar with Voltaire's classic dictum, "I disagree with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it"?
It's attributed to Voltaire.
You know it, then?
Yes.
You support its premises?
In most circumstances, yes.
Now, what standards of judgment do you apply?
Common sense.
You apply your common sense. I would suggest that you prefer to outlaw opinions that do not match your own. Is that not so?
No, that's not true at all.
More precisely, you would not allow supporters and members of the British Freedom Front to express their opinions. Am I right?
Well, let them express their opinion in private.
And that's what your common sense tells you, is it?
Not just my common sense, but the law of the land.
You're wrong there, Mr. Knight. Because the law of the land does allow organisations like the British Freedom Front to express their opinions, no matter how unacceptable those opinions may be to people like yourself.
Then the question common sense demands we ask ourselves is this: how is it that it's an offence for an individual to practice racial and religious prejudice, yet 200 or 300 people can march through a particularly sensitive area and imply exactly that?
Because, Mr. Knight, that is the law of the land.
Then the law should be in the dock.
Oh, dear. Mr. Fry, this is not a debating society.
No, my lord. Well, Mr. Knight, you may depict yourself as a model of toleration, but you are not. I suggest that as the policies of the British Freedom Front were not to your liking, you were prepared to go out on the streets last February the 19th and behave in the same ruffianly manner as those you profess to despise.
Well, I'll put my politics in another classic dictum. I tolerate all except intolerance.
And to whom do you attribute that?
Alvin Francis Knight.
Well, let's see how tolerant you are, Mr. Knight. Now, some 2 or 3 months prior to February the 19th, when the intention of the British Freedom Front to march through the boroughs became public knowledge, did you become involved with an organisation opposed to the march?
Yes.
Would you mind telling the court the nature of that involvement?
I petitioned the Chief Constable. I wrote to the local newspapers. I attended meetings and rallies, some of which I addressed.
Were you successful in your efforts to get the march banned?
No.
No, but you never accepted that decision, did you? You never did, and you don't accept that organisations like the British Freedom Front have a right to express their point of view. That, in fact, we in this country pride ourselves on allowing all shades of opinion, no matter how strange or unpalatable they may be.
I felt to allow the march to take place in that area on that route was an insult to the people who lived there. It was designed to promote one thing and one thing only: racial hatred. Now, if you find that something to be proud of, then that's your problem.
Do you think the general public's opinions on race or creed or colour were likely to be affected by the march?
What the general public saw was authority giving racists respectability. That's why they took to the streets.
So would I be correct in saying that because the police allowed the march, you regarded them with the same hostility as you regarded the British Freedom Front?
No, I just thought the police were ill-advised.
In any event, when all else failed, you and your friends engaged in mob rule. Because you didn't get your way, you created more violence than ever 300 British Freedom Front members marching unopposed down Agincourt Road would have done.
Unopposed? There are thousands of black people living in that area.
Nevertheless, you and your friends went to Agincourt Road on February the 19th, despite police appeals to the public to stay away, despite police advice that to attend would be to give publicity to the British Freedom Front. Publicity, by the way, being something that they desired above all else, and despite the violence that your presence there was likely to provoke. Is that not so?
The lesson of history is that if we turn our back on fascists and racists, they become bolder. And we all know where that can lead. Now, if the police wanted to avoid violence, they should have called the march off.
Well, it seems to me, Mr. Knight, that for all your protestations of being a supporter of democracy, your toleration of other people's views is very selective, isn't it?
No.
In fact, you will only tolerate those views that happen to coincide with your own, and we all know where that can lead. However, let us move on now, shall we, to the afternoon of February the 19th. You say you went to Agincourt Road with your girlfriend.
Yes.
Just your girlfriend? Nobody else, no friends, no associates?
No, we went on our own. We saw friends among the crowd.
Oh, you make it sound almost like a social occasion.
Well, for a little while it almost was.
Oh, come now, Mr. Knight. A few moments ago, you admitted belonging to an organisation that was opposed to the march. When I asked you what your involvement was, you said, I petitioned the Chief Constable, I wrote to the local newspapers, I attended meetings and rallies, some of which I addressed. Are you now saying that when all these legitimate efforts proved fruitless, you just gave up the ghost?
No, I didn't give up the ghost. I was there.
Was there a prearranged battle plan?
Not as far as I knew.
I suggest there was. I suggest that the junction of Agincourt Road and Cressy Lane was to be the high watermark of the parade as far as the demonstrators were concerned. I suggest there was prior agreement, long before the march took place, that the opposition at that point was to be of such ferocity that nothing would get past. Isn't that so?
That seemed to be the general idea.
Would you have had a hand in forming that plan?
No, but I'm full of admiration for whoever did, because it worked.
Oh, yes, it did. At considerable cost. We all lost out on February the 19th, Mr. Knight. It's not an occasion for self-congratulation. However, we seem to have established that you regarded both the British Freedom Front and the police, whose duty it was to protect them, as a common target.
Well, I must say they embraced their task with enthusiasm. They went well beyond protection. And the mobile support unit behaved as badly as any totalitarian bully boys anywhere in the world.
Well, let's see what they had to contend with first. Now, you've told my learned friend that you were standing on the corner of Agincourt Road and Cressy Lane when the marchers approached. Is that so?
Yes.
And you say there was common consent not to allow the march to get further. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, how was that aim to be achieved?
Well, I've said before, by forming a human barrier across the road.
How did the marchers and their escort approach the junction?
They were spearheaded by about 30 mounted police. The police tried to use their horses to breach a passage through the crowd. A lot of people got trampled on.
So there was a considerable battle, and you were in the thick of it.
Well, I was on the edge, yes.
And is it not a fact that missiles were thrown, that marbles were rolled beneath the hooves of the police horses, that in general the police were subjected to an assault of the most vicious and cowardly nature?
For viciousness, the police earned the top prize.
Were they not subjected to a barrage of bricks, stones, bottles, lumps of concrete?
Yes. But I threw nothing.
Oh, you threw nothing. But you approved the throwers. Well, your conscience is not on trial, Mr. Knight, I concede that. So you were near the heart of the battle, and when police reinforcements were rushed in to rescue their battered colleagues, you ran away. Is that so?
Yes.
And bearing in mind the nature of the confrontation at that time, it's hardly surprising, is it, that you were chased by a policeman. Would you not agree?
I do agree. And I'll tell you something else. I expected to be arrested that day. I expected to be arrested for obstruction. What I didn't expect was to be smashed over the head. I'd have gone quietly.
Mr. Knight, we have heard that you were charged with, amongst other offences, causing a breach of the peace, and that subsequently you were acquitted in a magistrate's court. What precisely were you alleged to have done?
I was charged with throwing marbles, my lord.
Oh, yes, I see. Yes, Mr. Fry.
Mr. Knight, I suggest that you had no intention of going quietly. I suggest that all your actions prior to and during the march point in quite the opposite direction. I suggest that when Constable Bell chased you into the garden of number 6 Cressy Lane, you attacked him because you were motivated by hatred and inflamed beyond reason.
Even inflamed, I'd know better than to face a policeman wielding a truncheon.
I suggest that, wielding a truncheon or not, your attitude to the police throughout was one of uncompromising hostility.
That day it was.
I suggest that Constable Bell approached you in the garden of 6 Cressy Lane because he wanted to arrest you. And he thought he had good reason for that, because you've been causing an obstruction. I suggest that he informed you that he was going to arrest you and that you tried to escape. I suggest that he then warned you not to resist, and you assaulted him by striking him twice in the stomach and aiming other blows at his person. Now, is that not exactly what happened?
Is this Crown Court, or listen with Mother?
Just answer the question, Mr. Knight.
No, it's fairy tales.
Answer the question.
It's untrue. Precisely, definitely, categorically.
Nevertheless, I suggest that it was only when he was thus being attacked that Constable Bell was obliged to use reasonable force in order to defend himself. Is not that the truth of it?
The idea that Bell or any of that mobile support unit could use reasonable force is laughable. They came out of their vans like the Mongol hordes descending on Rome, swinging their truncheons.
That's not an answer.
They lashed out at anybody or anything that was within striking distance.
Mr. Knight! Do you wish to repeat the question, Mr. Fry?
Thank you, Lord. No, I think we can take it that Mr. Knight's answer is in the negative.
You can.
I'll adjourn, Miss Davenport. That'll give your client an opportunity to contain his temper before you re-examine.
All stand.
Mr. Knight, my learned friend has asked you about your attitude to the police. What was your relationship before the march took place?
With the local police?
Yes. I'm thinking about your line of work. Do you have much contact?
Yes, there is some contact. It's cordial.
And when you were lying in the cell, did anyone visit you apart from the police doctor?
Yes, Sergeant Crawford.
Did you know him?
Yes, he's the desk sergeant at East Fulchester Police Station.
And what was your reaction when he came into the cell?
Well, I was pleased to see him. He came down twice, brought me some tea, sat for a while. He was very decent.
Did he show any other concern?
Yes, when I left, he put a blanket over my shoulders and said I'd be all right after a good night's sleep.
Have you returned to East Fulchester Police Station since?
Yes, I took the blanket back. I didn't want to be done for theft.
Apart from that, have you returned there?
Yes, I have clients I visit.
And how would you now describe your relationship with the police?
The same as before, cordial. I draw a distinction between the local police and imported thugs.
Now, you've talked to Sergeant Crawford and with other officers of East Fulchester Police Force. Is that correct?
Lord, sounds as though this evidence will be hearsay.
Yes, Mr. Knight, did these conversations with the officers concern Constable Bell or the charges against you or him? Just answer me yes or no.
No, my lord.
Then you may answer learned counsel.
Well, the gist of it was this. I asked them how it was they could walk round the corner and arrest one man for making an inflammatory racial remark. And yet when it came to 200 or 300 people marching down Agincourt Road, they gave them protection. They didn't have an answer for me. They said that the events of February the 19th had set back community relations 5 years.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. My lord?
Well, I have no questions. You may go and sit down, Mr. Knight, over there.
You are Aziz ul Haq, and you live at number 6 Cressy Lane, Fulchester. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What is your occupation, Mr. Haq?
I'm a bus driver.
And do you occupy the entire house of number 6 Cressy Lane?
No, I live with my wife and children on the first floor.
Were you living there in February last year?
Yeah.
How far is it from the house in which you live to Agincourt Road?
20, 30 yards. As an estimate, you understand.
Yes. And can you see the junction of Agincourt Road and Cressy Lane from where you live?
Yeah. The living room's got a bay window.
Now, will you tell the court in your own words what happened to you on February the 19th last year? You were at home on that day?
Yeah. I stayed indoors, not wanting trouble. I saw everything from the window. I saw the marchers. They got as far as the corner. They were carrying flags, tall Union Jacks. In front of them were half a dozen policemen on horses, trying to clear a way through the crowd. Well, they weren't successful, and there was a great deal of confusion, running and fighting. And then a group of policemen charged them from the other side.
Now, one moment, Mr. Haq. When you say the other side, what exactly do you mean?
Well, the marchers were coming along Agincourt Road from the left, and then the police charged them in a bunch from the right. Well, some demonstrators stood and fought, others ran.
In which direction?
Oh, some past my house.
How many?
20 or 30. As an estimate, you understand.
Yes. Were they being chased by the police?
Yeah.
How many?
Perhaps 8.
What did you see happen next?
2 people ran into the garden, Miss Barnes and Mr. Knight.
And what did they do then?
Turned round and stopped.
What happened next?
Policeman followed him into the garden and started to hit Mr.
Now, there's
Knight.
no dispute about this. The policeman was Constable Bell. Can you tell me the interval between the arrival of the 2 people and the arrival of Constable Bell?
I should say about 5 seconds.
And then what happened?
He began hitting him. The policeman hit the man.
With what?
Truncheon.
Did you see where the blows landed?
Oh, yeah, here and here.
And how many times would you say the policeman hit Mr. Knight?
5 times, perhaps 6.
And when Constable Bell entered the garden, was he carrying his truncheon?
Oh, yeah.
What did Mr. Knight do as Constable Bell approached him?
Nothing. He was just standing.
And the woman, Miss Barnes, what was she doing?
Nothing, just standing.
Did you hear any voices? Was anything said?
No, the window was closed. But in any case, I heard no voices.
What did the man do as he was being struck?
He tried to defend himself. He put his arms
Did
up.
he strike the policeman?
No.
Was there a struggle?
No struggle. Just a policeman coming in the garden and hitting him.
And what was Mr. Knight's posture before he was attacked? I mean, was he standing normally?
Yeah, absolutely normally.
And where were his hands?
Oh, his hands were here.
Now, can you remember anything else that happened?
Mr. Knight screamed in pain.
Did you not say the window was closed?
Yeah, the window was closed, but the screams were loud.
What happened next?
When the policeman started to hit Mr. Knight, the woman, Miss Barnes, ran to the door and started banging.
With her fist?
No, there's a knocker on the door. Old, iron, very heavy.
Did you go downstairs to answer Miss Barnes' banging?
No.
So you stayed by the window?
Yeah.
Did you manage to see anything else that happened?
The policeman dragged Mr. Knight along the path. Mr. Knight was holding the side of his head. I could see it was bleeding badly. On the pavement stood another policeman. Each took one arm, holding him under the shoulder to give him support because he looked like he'd fall otherwise. And then they dragged him along Cressy Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Hark. Will you wait there, please?
Mr. Hack, you say you watched events from a first-floor window. Looking down, then, as you must have been, into the garden, that surely was an acute angle, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah, the angle is acute. I'd say between 30 and 60 degrees. As an estimate, you understand.
Yes. So there might have been something going on, some action, say, that you might have missed.
Oh, I don't think so. I saw everything.
Yes, but bearing in mind your rather restricted observation point, though, if you had missed it, you wouldn't have realised you'd missed it. Would you follow me?
Yeah, I understand.
And wouldn't you agree?
I saw all that went on below.
You say Miss Barnes banged on the door. Why didn't you go down and open it?
I was frightened.
Mr. Hack, I suggest that your view was not very clear. I suggest that what you really saw was Mr. Knight attacking Constable Bell, and Constable Bell being obliged to draw his truncheon in order to defend himself. Isn't that the truth?
No.
I suggest that not only could you not hear anything, but you were also unable to see everything that happened. Wouldn't you agree?
No, I wouldn't agree, no.
I have no further questions, Lord.
Mr. Hark, did you have a clear view of what went on in the garden?
Yeah.
And did you observe Mr. Knight make any move, aggressive move, towards Constable Bell?
No.
No. Did you see Mr. Knight do anything which might have provoked or justified Constable Bell's assault upon him?
No.
Now, you said earlier that Mr. Knight was dragged along the road. Did you see what happened to him?
No.
Why was that?
Well, as they were dragging Mr. Knight along the road, I got up my courage and went downstairs and opened the front door.
And lastly, Mr. Hark, you say you work as a bus driver.
Yeah.
Do you have to have regular eye tests as a condition of your job?
Oh, certainly.
When did you last have a test?
March.
Of this year?
Yeah.
And what was the result of that test?
Oh, 100% eyesight. 100%.
Do I understand this is an estimate, Mr. Hark?
Oh, no, miss. That's no estimate. That's guaranteed by the optician. 100%.
The case of Knight versus Bell will continue tomorrow in the Crown Court. The case you're about to see is fictional, but the procedure is authentic. The characters are played by actors, but the jury is selected from members of the public. Yesterday, the jury heard the first stages of the prosecution case against Police Constable Bell, who was accused of causing grievous bodily harm to Alvin Knight.
Are you Dr. Joanna Whiting, and do you live at 38 Broad March, Fulchester?
Yes.
And you are a registrar in the Accident and Emergency Department of Fulchester General Hospital, is that correct?
Yes.
Were you on duty on February the 19th last year when Mr. Knight was brought in for treatment?
Yes.
At what time was Mr. Knight brought in?
May I refer to my notes?
Mr. Fry?
No objection, Lord.
Yes.
Mr. Knight was brought into the department about 4:30 p.m, but I didn't get to examine him until 5:15 p.m. We were pretty busy, and a nurse told me he had been professionally bandaged. Oh, his girlfriend was with him, and she told me he'd been seen by a doctor at a police station, but that she wasn't satisfied with his treatment. She said he seemed to be very groggy.
And on examination, what did you find?
I found lacerations on the neck and the side of his head. These extended from roughly the crown of his head to the right clavicle, here. There were 2 lacerations on the head itself, each measuring approximately 5 1/4 inches. More lacerations behind the right ear, and the ear itself was severely bruised. He had also received injury to his right shoulder, but because of his clothing, the wounds there weren't serious. No stitches had been applied, so I decided stitching of the wounds behind the right ear and of the head was necessary, and I inserted 18 stitches in all. Examination showed no fracture of the skull, and X-rays on the head and chest showed no fractures, but because of his head injuries, Mr. Knight was strongly advised to remain in hospital for observation.
Which he did?
Yes. Well, actually, I dealt with his girlfriend. She seemed to be in charge of him, which was just as well. He was discharged 24 hours later.
Doctor, you say that his wounds were bandaged and you were told that he'd already been treated. Was that treatment not adequate?
Well, not entirely.
In what respect?
I should have said that Mr. Knight was suffering from concussion, and there may have been severe complications. In my opinion, he should have been sent to a hospital for clinical observation.
Yes, I see. Thank you. Yes.
From your observations, could you say how many times Mr. Knight had been struck?
Well, the injury below the right ear was confusing in that respect, but I should say about 6 times.
And with considerable force, would you say?
I think Mr. Knight missed severe brain damage, perhaps even death, by a whisper.
No, now that must be a bit speculative, Doctor.
Yes, but it is my judgment.
Yes, I must ask you not to speculate, Dr. Whiting. And, Miss Davenport, the lady must not be led up the garden path, not even by another lady, Mr. Fry?
I'm obliged, my lord. Can you tell us anything of Mr. Knight's condition since?
Well, physically, he seems to have got off lightly, but mentally it's a different picture. I examined Mr. Knight again before he was discharged. There was severe bruising around the lacerations, but that was to be expected. However, since his discharge, he's been a regular outpatient at the hospital. He attends the neurological clinic. He complains of persistent headaches. He's had 3 bouts of depression, each lasting about a week, which we've been able to treat with tablets. He says he doesn't have the powers of concentration that he used to have.
Thank you, Dr. Whiting.
Dr. Whiting, am I right in thinking that the only advantage that stitching has over allowing the skin to come together naturally is cosmetic?
Yes.
Well, just help me along here, if you would. Mr. Knight was X-rayed, and these X-rays showed no damage, is that correct?
Yes.
And he was kept under observation for 24 hours, during which period no untoward symptoms developed, so he was released, is that correct?
Yes.
And the stitching is cosmetic?
Yes.
Would you not agree then, Dr. Whiting, that the treatment and advice given to Mr. Knight by the police surgeon was entirely adequate and correct?
Well, in my opinion, the wounds should have been stitched. Otherwise, yes.
No further questions, Lord. Thank you, Dr. Whiting.
You are Sonia Barnes, you live at 91 Norton Road, Fulchester, and you are a primary school teacher, is that correct?
Yes.
Miss Barnes, I want you to turn your mind back to the events of February the 19th last year.
It's not difficult. I have nightmares about it 5 times a week.
Yes, well, I want you to tell the court what happened as you remember it.
Well, we were right on the corner where Agincourt Road joins Cressy Lane.
Now, on the pavement or in the road?
On the pavement at the edge.
What happened then?
Well, we stood there for a while, getting crushed, and there was a great commotion as the marchers approached. You could see their flags long before you could see them. There were mounted police in the front and more police protecting the column. Everybody started pushing and shoving.
When you say everybody, do you mean the crowd or are you including the police?
The British Freedom Front were trying to march down Agincourt Road 6 abreast. And what with the police guarding each side, there just wasn't enough space. The mounted police used their horses on us. We resisted and it became bedlam. So Mr. Knight said, look, we better get out of here, and we pushed our way back. Suddenly, a load of police came charging along Agincourt Road.
Now, not from the same direction as the marchers?
No, they came from behind. It was the old classic pincer movement. Their intention was plain. It was to drive us up Cressy Lane.
The map exhibit 2 makes this clear, my lord. So you and Mr. Knight worked your way out of the main area of conflict. What happened next?
Well, the mobile support unit were hitting out in all directions like demented animals. Mr. Knight grabbed me and we ran a few yards up Cressy Lane and went into a front garden.
Why did you do that?
Just wanted to get out of the way.
What did you do when you went into the garden?
We didn't do anything. We just stood there about halfway up the path and then that lunatic crashed in.
Moderate your language, Miss
All right,
Barnes.
that mentally deranged,
Barnes!
club-carrying imbecile.
Miss Barnes! I'm not obliged to sit here and tolerate intemperate remarks, and I will not do so. I shan't warn you again. You are here as a witness of fact. You're not here to make pejorative remarks about anyone. Yeah?
Miss Barnes, can you tell the court how much time elapsed between your entry and Constable Bell's entry into the garden?
A few seconds.
Which way were you facing at that point? Towards the house or towards Cressy Lane?
You just ran in and turned around, just normally as you would.
And where were you in relation to Mr. Knight? Were you beside him, behind him?
I was a little way behind him.
So nearer the house?
Yes.
What happened next?
Constable Bell rushed in and started hitting him about the head with his truncheon. I screamed and began banging on the door. I panicked.
Were you able to observe how many times Mr. Knight was struck?
5 or 6.
Did you see Mr. Knight do anything that might have provoked or justified the assault?
He did nothing, absolutely nothing. He was just a convenient target.
Did Mr. Knight attack Constable Bell at any time?
Would he? Just look at him.
Nevertheless, did he?
No.
Did he say anything from the time he entered the garden to the time when he was forcibly removed?
He shouted with pain.
Nothing else?
No.
Thank you. Will you wait there, please?
Miss Barnes, I'd like to ask you some questions about the march itself. You must have anticipated that it was going to be rough. Why did you go?
There is no point in working in an area and then as soon as there's any trouble hiding your face. You lose credibility. I saw it as a duty. We both did.
I suggest you relished the event, Miss Barnes. I suggest that confrontation was what you'd been seeking.
You must be joking.
Please answer properly, Miss Barnes.
Answering properly would dignify the question, my lord, and that's impossible.
Whatever Mr. Fry's questions may seem to you, you will answer them unless I direct that you need not.
Then, no.
Thank you. I trust you won't take exception to my next question, Miss Barnes. Did you contribute to the disturbances in Agincourt Road?
I was there. According to the recent convictions in the magistrates' court, that alone was enough to cause a disturbance.
Are you saying that your presence there was merely passive?
Yes.
I suggest that wasn't so. I suggest that you went there with the intention of creating havoc and that you did so. Is that not so?
Once permission had been granted for the march to take place, havoc was inevitable. The only way to avoid it was to ban the march. You might like to ask the Chief Constable why he didn't do that. Makes you think, doesn't it?
You condemn the British Freedom Front and the Mobile Support Unit. You call them extremists and bullies. Are not their opponents properly described in those very same terms?
There is a big difference between using violence to intimidate and bully and just standing in the street in protest.
But you went beyond protest, Miss Barnes. I suggest that you went there to encourage violence, and that when Constable Bell chased you and Mr. Knight, he had very good reason, as he thought, to make an arrest. Now, is that not the truth?
No, it is not.
Well, I suggest that what happened in the front garden of 6 Cressy Lane was this. Constable Bell approached Mr. Knight and informed him that he was going to place him under arrest. Mr. Knight made to rush past him, so Constable Bell blocked his way and warned him that it would be better if he just came along without a fuss. Whereupon Mr. Knight lashed out with his feet and fists and managed to strike Constable Bell twice in the stomach. Constable Bell warned him once more with these words, "Look, come quietly." But Mr. Knight carried on kicking and punching, so Constable Bell had to use his truncheon in order to defend himself. Now, that's really what happened, isn't it?
No.
No? Well, perhaps you were too busy knocking on the door to see what really happened, Miss Barnes. I have no further questions, Bernard.
Miss Barnes, just a detail. When you and Mr. Knight ran along Cressy Lane, why didn't you continue to flee? Couldn't you have outrun the police?
I couldn't run far. I had high-heel shoes on.
Well, is that the sort of footwear you choose when going to gatherings that have every indication of becoming wild and violent?
I didn't think it was going to turn out like that. I never really considered it. I usually wear high-heel shoes and I wore them then.
Not exactly the footwear of someone bent on violence, as my learned friend suggests. What sort of shoes do you have on today?
The same ones.
Would you mind taking one off and showing them to the jury, please? Thank you, Miss Barnes. Unless your lordship has any further questions, that is the case for the prosecution.
You are Jeremy George Bell. You've been a policeman for 10 years, and on February the 19th last year, you were attached to the Mobile Support Unit.
Yes.
Would you tell the court what happened on that day, the day of the British Freedom Front March?
May I refer to my notes, my lord?
I have no objections, my lord.
Yes. Well, we assemble at 7:30 a.m.
Oh, Constable Bell, I don't think we need trouble in any great detail with your movements until just before, say, the riot that you were involved in Agincourt Road. So perhaps you'd start at lunchtime rather than breakfast, so to speak.
Well, during the morning we were located in several areas.
I take it then that you were being held in reserve?
Yes, my lord.
Yeah, go on.
At approximately 11:30 a.m. we parked on the corner of Agincourt Road and Traincourt Avenue. We remained there until just before 1:30 p.m. We were then called upon to provide reinforcements further down Agincourt Road, which we did.
And this call upon your services, was it of an urgent nature?
Yes, the whole thing was out of control.
Did you see anything to confirm this view as you went towards the area of the conflict?
Yes. I saw several policemen laid out on the pavement receiving first aid. A number of them had head wounds.
And what was actually happening as you arrived?
Well, it was total confusion. There were between 200 and 300 members of the British Freedom Front all jammed up together just below the junction of Agincourt Road and Cressy Lane. And they were surrounded by members of the local police who were protecting them from the mob. At the head of the column, a dozen or so mounted police were trying to clear a way through, but they had to contend with 2,000 or 3,000 people packed like a human barricade across the road, and they weren't having much success.
So in other words, the march had come to a halt?
Yes.
What did you do when you arrived?
Well, our task was to move the people away from that junction. But as we arrived, we were attacked by all manner of flying objects.
Were you struck?
No, I wasn't, but there were some near misses, and I was kicked.
What sort of missiles were being used?
Anything they could get their hands on.
So you were lucky to escape serious injury?
Yes.
What happened next?
Well, I moved across the top of Cressy Lane. I made for the opposite corner where there was a hardcore of demonstrators.
What do you mean by hardcore?
Well, just a mass of them. They seemed to be well organised. They weren't giving ground, and they seemed to have a good supply of ammunition.
Such as?
Bricks, bottles, marbles.
What were they doing with the marbles?
And they were rolling them under the hooves of the police horses.
What happened next?
Well, we approached the group with the intention of making a number of arrests for breach of the peace. But as we arrived, scuffles broke out and some of them ran off. We gave chase. Two of them, who I now know to be Mr. Knight and Miss Barnes, went into the garden of number 6 Cressy Lane. I said to Mr. Knight, "I saw you throwing marbles and I'm arresting you for causing a breach of the peace."
You liar!
Miss Barnes, I will not allow outbursts or interruptions. If you do it again, you'll be removed. Yes, Mr. Fry.
Were you convinced that you saw Mr. Knight throwing marbles?
Yes.
And since Mr. Knight has been charged with and acquitted of this crime, have you now changed your view?
No, but that was the verdict to the magistrate's court.
I see. So after you cautioned Mr. Knight, what happened next?
He tried to run past me. I told him it would be best if he didn't resist. He then began to kick and swung punches at my body. 2 blows landed in my stomach. I told him to stop it and to come quietly. He continued to aim blows, and I struck him 5 times in order to defend myself and bring him under control.
Constable Bell, do you think you used excessive or unreasonable force?
No, I was being attacked and I had to defend myself.
Do you think that your behaviour was proper and normal, given the circumstances?
Yes.
You then presumably made your arrest. What happened next?
Well, I accompanied Mr. Knight out of the garden. Constable Copesly was standing by the wall. He helped me escort Mr. Knight to a police van which was parked further along Cressy Lane.
Thank you, Constable.
Constable Bell, I'd like you to retrace your steps. You began to say when you started to give evidence that you assembled at 7:30 in the morning, and then my learned friend advanced you from breakfast time to lunchtime, so to speak. But I'd like to know what happened between that early hour and 1:30 approximately when you left the police van.
Well, we were in the police station till 8:30 a.m.
Then what?
Nothing.
Nothing? But that's nearly 5 hours. Did you have no duty, no function?
No.
Where did you spend those hours?
In various locations.
Yes, but where were you?
In the van.
All the time, without getting out?
We got out for tea twice.
For how long?
About 20 minutes.
On both occasions?
Yes.
So, you were cooped up in the van for a period of 4 hours, 20 minutes?
Yes.
During that enforced period of idleness, one might even say incarceration, did it not play on your nerves?
No.
Did it make you restless?
No.
Fidgety?
No.
Frustrated?
No.
Well, these were surely unusual conditions. I mean, how did you acclimatise yourself to them?
Well, I'd say the conditions were quite normal.
Oh, it's normal training, is it, to be shut up in a van for 5 hours?
Well, the doors were partially open.
Still, was it not cramped?
Just a minute. What sort of a van was it, eh?
A transit, my lord.
Oh, yeah? Well, there were seats.
Yes, my lord.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's get on.
When you say it's part of normal training, are you referring to usual police activities, or are you referring to the eventualities which the mobile support unit may have to face?
Well, we have certain extra training. We have to learn to exercise patience.
Well, one would hope that was a quality exercised by the whole police force.
Indeed, my lord. Constable Bell, did you volunteer for duties for the mobile support unit?
Yes.
And are all the members of the mobile support unit volunteers?
As far as I know, yes.
It's something of an elitist group, then, is it?
I wouldn't say that, no.
Lord, is Constable Bell supposed to be an administrative manual? I cannot see how the workings of a branch of the police force can have any bearing on this case.
My lord, the formation of the mobile support unit and other groups in other parts of the country is a somewhat disquieting development. They have the reputation of being semi-military in nature, and they've been compared to paramilitary groups in some European countries, such as the CRS in France. The appearance of the mobile support unit on the streets of Fulchester last February the 19th had a devastating effect on the people gathered there. And that is a point which I would like to bring to the attention of the jury.
Bernard, none of this can possibly help the jury to arrive at a proper verdict for the matter in hand.
Oh, I think, Mr. Fry, that Miss Davenport is allowed to ask questions as to the training of this special force.
I'm obliged, my lord. Constable Bell, do you have training in crowd control?
Yes.
And do you not learn to control crowds through intimidation?
I'm not sure I know what you mean.
Well, do you learn to control crowds through brute force?
No, Miss Davenport. We cannot allow you to continue this line of questioning in those terms.
Very well, my lord. Constable Bell, you have stated in evidence, and this is the phrase you used, that you provided reinforcements further down Agincourt Road. Is that so?
That's right.
What form were these reinforcements going to take?
What form?
Yes, what were your instructions?
Well, we understood that the police already on duty were being overwhelmed and we had to give our support.
So after 5 hours in the van, with 2 20-minute breaks for tea, the moment was at hand. You were about to go into action. The local force was being overwhelmed and you were going to lend your support. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, what were your orders?
I've just explained. We had to lend support.
Yes, but what exactly were you going to do?
Restore order, calm things down.
How were you expected to achieve this aim?
Well, the policy, as I understood it, was to clear the streets.
How? There were thousands of people there. How? Were you going to ask them to move along?
Variations on that approach, yes.
Well, it's the variations this court is interested in. Now, you've said the policy was to clear the streets.
Yes.
Wasn't it the intention, then, of the mobile support unit to push the demonstrators up Cressy Lane, use it as a sort of escape valve?
Yes.
Because the policy was to clear Agincourt Road?
Yes.
Yes. Well, if that was your objective, and there does seem to be a certain amount of logic to it, what were you doing chasing 2 people up Cressy Lane?
Well, I'd seen them commit a breach of the peace. I went to arrest them.
Oh, so you deserted the area in which your function was clear, i.e. Agincourt Road, to chase 2 insignificant lawbreakers?
I don't think there is such a thing as breaking the law insignificantly.
Oh, really, Constable Bell? You have stated that the whole area was erupting with fights. You have stated that it was your priority to clear Agincourt Road to get the march moving. Now, I'll ask you again. What were you doing chasing Mr. Knight and Miss Barnes up Cressy Lane?
Witness has already answered, Miss Davenport.
Very well, my lord. Constable Bell, as you approached the demonstrators, were you walking or running?
It was too crowded to run.
Nevertheless, I suggest you were running. I suggest that you, in the company of your colleagues, charge the demonstrators in a disciplined, cohesive body.
No.
You were on your own, then?
No, there were several officers with me.
Was your truncheon drawn?
Yes.
Well, I put it to you that the method by which the mobile support unit were determined to disperse the crowds was by cracking heads open.
It was us that was getting our heads cracked open.
Let me remind you of something you said earlier on. You stated, "We approached this group with the intention of making a number of arrests for breach of the peace." Is that so?
Yes.
Well, that sounds almost civilized. But we're agreed that wasn't the way it was at all. Because what was actually happening was between 6,000 and 8,000 people were gathered in one of the most massive demonstrations this city has ever known. The level of protest from decent, ordinary people was unprecedented, and the result was total pandemonium. And you are asking this court to believe that you approached this group with the intention of making a number of arrests. Well, it sounds most orderly, for all the world like a minor traffic offence. But I put it to you, Constable Bell, that it was impossible to achieve the police aims, or more pertinently, the aims of the British Freedom Front, without using considerable violence. And hindsight has proved that it was impossible to achieve these aims with it. But your instructions were to use whatever force you liked to clear the streets. And after 5 hours in the van, you were ready to do just that. Is that not so?
I used no more force than the situation demanded.
Very well, Constable Bell. Now let's just consider what happened next. You chased Mr. Knight and Miss Barnes along Cressy Lane. Did they know you were after them?
Well, I expect they did, yes. I mean, they were running to get away.
Oh, they were certainly doing that. Did you call after them? Did you shout?
It was too noisy. They wouldn't have heard.
I suggest that you chased Mr. Knight and Miss Barnes for no other reason than they were easy targets. Is that not so?
No.
I suggest you gave Mr. Knight no caution at all.
I did caution him. I told him I was arresting him.
No, Constable Bell. I suggest you did not exchange one word. I suggest that from the moment you left the van, you were bent on imposing your physical will. I suggest that your blood was up and that you lashed out regardless of circumstances and in uncontrollable fury.
No.
I put it to you that this story of Mr. Knight offering resistance is complete fabrication.
No, it isn't. It's the complete truth.
The complete truth is that you hit Mr. Knight with such ferocity 5 or 6 times that it's a miracle Mr. Knight is alive today.
He was resisting lawful arrest, and I was obliged to use reasonable force.
No, Constable Bell, you did not use reasonable force, and you did not because you lost your temper. Is that not so?
I was in complete control of my actions at all times.
You came near to killing a man, Constable Bell. Are you saying you performed that deed in cold blood?
I may have been a little tense, but who wouldn't be?
I have no answer to that question. And I have no further questions, my lord.
The case of Knight versus Bell will be concluded tomorrow in the Crown Court. The case you're about to see is fictional, but the procedure is authentic. The characters are played by actors, but the jury is selected from the general public. During the past 2 days, the jury has heard evidence concerning an incident which took place during a demonstration against a fascist march, in which Police Constable Bell is accused of causing grievous bodily harm to Alvin Knight, one of the demonstrators. Today, the jury will return their verdict.
Constable Copesly, will you tell the court what happened on February the 19th last year, the day of the British Freedom Front march, and what you recall of events leading up to the arrest of Mr. Knight?
May I refer to my notes, my lord?
Miss Davenport?
No objections, my lord.
Yes, very well.
At approximately 1:30 p.m, on instructions, I dismounted from the van. The man continued with his violent behaviour. Constable Bell was obliged to use his truncheon in order to defend himself. The arrest was effected.
How far were you from this confrontation?
About 8 feet.
Did you go into the garden at any time?
No.
Now, in fact, some of the blows landed on Mr. Knight's head. From where you were positioned, were you able to see why this happened?
The man was struggling and fighting all the time. It took a number of strokes to subdue him. All these were aimed at his shoulders, and I believe he would not have been struck on the head had he not been struggling and fighting. You know, ducking and weaving.
So with these necessary blows, Constable Bell was able to bring Mr. Knight under control. What happened next?
Constable Bell then removed him from the front garden. The man was still struggling, so I assisted in getting him up the road and into the police van.
Yes, one more question. When did Constable Bell draw his truncheon? Did you observe him?
Yes, he removed it about 50 yards short of the junction of Cressy Lane. We all did. We needed to.
Thank you, Constable.
Constable Copesly, you say you did not enter the garden.
That is correct.
If, as you say, your colleague was being attacked, why didn't you go to his assistance?
Thought he could handle it on his own, so I stayed near just in case.
You stayed near just in case. Now, do you agree that the police were under considerable pressure that afternoon?
Considerable, yes.
And would you not agree there was a point when you were virtually overwhelmed?
It was touch and go once or twice.
It was all this chaos around you. 2 of your unit chased 2 people up Cressy Lane. 2 of you effectively cornered them in the garden. And you waited by the garden wall while your colleague made an arrest. Now, is that what you're asking this court to believe?
That is how it was, yes.
Yet you told this court just a few moments ago, and I'll read your own figures. You said 12 or 14 ran. Those are demonstrators from Agincourt Road. And 5 or 6 of us gave chase. Now, did you say that?
Yes, I did.
Yes, you did. It's a matter of record. Well, the question I want you to answer is this. Behind you in Agincourt Road, there's a full-scale riot going on. Is that correct?
You could say that.
And in front of you, people suspected of throwing bricks at the police or marbles at the police horses are escaping. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the escapers outnumbered the police by more than 2 to 1. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yet you, Constable Copesly, you say you had nothing better to do than to stand by the garden wall and watch while Constable Bell apprehended 1 average height, average weight young man and 1 terrified, petrified young woman.
The men seemed to be looking for a means of escape, so I remained where I was in order to cut him off.
Well, where could he have escaped to?
Had a choice of 2 directions. That's why I was putting up so much resistance. Constable Bell was preventing him from getting away.
Well, you say he had a choice. You were standing by the garden gate blocking his exit, is that not so?
Yes, but...
So if he had succeeded in disarming and felling Constable Bell, he'd have then have had to have contended with you, is that not so?
Yes, that's why I remained where I was.
Well, I suggest this story of Mr. Knight seeking to escape is an unlikely tale, wouldn't you agree?
He could have got away over the divisions between the gardens. They're not very substantial in Cressy Lane, just low privet edges.
I suggest you made up this entire yarn and that Mr. Knight offered no resistance at all. Is that not so?
I've made nothing of.
Now, you said in evidence that Mr. Knight and Miss Barnes went into the front garden. Mr. Knight adopted an aggressive posture and Miss Barnes yelled and banged on the front door. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, in other words, these actions were simultaneous?
Yes.
Yes. Can you explain why Miss Barnes was banging at the door?
Why?
Yes, why? What had frightened her?
I think the whole situation scared her. When she saw Mr. Knight was beginning to start a fight, she just ran and banged on the front door.
I put it to you that Miss Barnes did not manifest fright until she saw her boyfriend being beaten on the head. Until that time, she was standing next to Mr. Knight. Is that not so?
No.
And when Constable Bell began his assault, that point she became hysterical, and that's why she banged on the door. But I put it to you, Constable Copesly, that you wouldn't have observed this, because you arrived during, not before the assault. Is that not so?
I was there. I saw it all happen. When Mr. Knight and Constable Bell began to struggle, Miss Barnes ran and banged on the front door.
Very well. Now, you say that Constable Bell issued a warning and that Mr. Knight paid no attention. Is that correct?
Yes.
You say that Mr. Knight then aimed some blows, 2 of which landed on Constable Bell's stomach.
Yes.
Whereupon Constable Bell was obliged to defend himself with his truncheon.
Yes.
And you say that Mr. Knight's aggression was of such ferocity that he attacked the truncheon with his head.
I never said anything like that at all.
No, Constable Copesly. What you said was that if Mr. Knight hadn't been ducking and feinting like a trained boxer, I presume, he wouldn't have been struck on the head.
Yes. No. I mean, it was a fight.
Are you then telling this court that Mr. Knight took on 1 constable with another in reserve 8 feet away, took up the trained posture of a fighter, hit Constable Bell twice in the stomach, and then was expert and agile enough to deflect blows from a truncheon that were aimed at his shoulder onto his head.
You're twisting my words.
But they are your words. Is that what you're asking this court to believe?
Yes.
I put it to you, Constable Copesly, that you were running past, and that perhaps what stopped you in your tracks was the sight of a colleague beating a man senseless.
I was there all the time, and Mr. Knight was not badly hurt.
I suggest that this whole story of Mr. Knight resisting arrest is an invention designed to provide your colleague with an excuse for what amounted to a brutal and unprovoked assault.
Unprovoked? As we went down Agincourt Road, bricks, bottles and lumps of paving stone were thrown at us. A policeman next to me got a block of wood across the eyes and I heard him scream. Near Cressy Lane, 5 of our blokes were propped up against a wall, all of them bleeding badly from head wounds. I've never seen anything like it. The crowd were like wild animals, in a rage because they couldn't get their hands on the marchers. God knows what would have happened if they had done. Probably tore them limb from limb. But they wanted blood, so they turned on us. We were there to keep them apart, to keep the peace. And we got caught in the middle and got the full brunt of it. I was abused, spat on, kicked and punched, and now I'm standing here as if I was on trial. And why? Because a bunch of yobbos take exception to the colour of a man's skin.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, let me remind you of certain facts. February the 19th last year was an infamous day in the history of this city, one is tempted to say of this country. Certainly the upholders of law and order were placed in an invidious position and subjected to fierce pressure. They were taunted, abused and assaulted, and these transgressions have been dealt with in another place, and rightly so. But let's reflect for a moment upon the role of the policeman. Now, he's well acquainted with abnormal situations. What for the average member of a law-abiding community is a catastrophic event is for the constable on the beat or in the squad car a regular occurrence, more often than not unpleasant, occasionally repulsive, frequently dangerous. The policeman's lot, as the song goes, is not a happy one. Now, he is trained for this task, but beneath his uniform he remains, as Constable Copesly has demonstrated, a human being. Now, you may consider that Constable Bell had a greater measure of training than the police in the local force. He was, after all, a member of a special unit, and perhaps was better qualified to deal with the events of February the 19th. Now, you've heard him say in evidence that he had to wait 5 hours before being called into the fray. Did his training turn him into a superman without the ordinary human feelings of boredom and frustration? I suggest it did not. And you may wonder what his orders were and what passed through his mind as he sat in the cramped confines of his van. Let's turn now to Mr. Knight. It's been intimated that Mr. Knight was a conspirator in the events of February the 19th. Now, even if that is so, Mr. Knight need not deny it, because to protest in an orderly fashion is his democratic right. And there has been not one shred of evidence to suggest that Mr. Knight's conduct was other than orderly. Indeed, this court has heard that he was accused and acquitted of such accusations. Now, if he had been allocated a premier part in the protest, would he have taken along his girlfriend, subjected her to the kind of battle we've heard related here? I suggest he would not, even though, as you have seen, Miss Barnes is undoubtedly a spirited lady. And is there not some indication from the very position that they took up on the corner of Agincourt Road and Cressy Lane that trouble was indicated and that that location was chosen to allow for a fast exit? I submit that that was the case. Mr. Knight went to protest. When he ran in innocence. Let me remind you that he said he expected to be arrested that day for obstruction. Now, clearly this man has no fear of the police. He does not see them as his enemy. Think of his position in the community. He is a man concerned with his fellow human beings. His is a caring vocation. And through his work, he is acquainted with nearly every police officer in East Fulchester. Now, Mr. Knight continues to enjoy the confidence of the police. You have heard him declare that his relationship with them remains cordial. He bears no grudge. He accuses that one man. Now, you may consider that Mr. Knight is a principled man, one who sticks to his guns, a passionate one, but not a violent one. And that when Constable Bell advanced upon him in the garden of 6 Cressy Lane, he would have gone into custody with a minimum of verbal protest. But that is to imagine conditions that simply did not exist that day. Now consider the photographs of his wounds. Are these not the disfigurements of a vicious attack? Can anyone honestly believe for one moment that these are the results of the exercise of reasonable force? Now, of all the people who've given evidence here today, perhaps the one we should pay most attention to is Mr. Hark. Now, he's confessed that he was too frightened to go out and be counted on the march. He has confessed he was too frightened to go down in answer to Miss Barnes' frantic banging. He is, as you have seen, a mild man. Clearly, only the fact that he witnessed a brutal assault has persuaded him to come to the court today to give evidence. And he witnessed it, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, from the supreme vantage point of the bird's-eye view. Now, I see my learned friend is shaking his head, but think back to occasions when you've looked into a front garden from a first-floor window and just remember how good that view was. Now, finally, I'd like to return to Constable Bell. He sits in his van, hour after hour, brooding perhaps, apprehensive perhaps of what awaits him in the streets. And when finally he's called into the fray, what does he see? He sees his colleagues injured, blooded, having their wounds bandaged as they lie on the ground. I submit Constable Bell lost his temper. He lost his reason. He charged in anger and he struck in revenge. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, our police force has an awesome trust and a solemn burden. And for the most part, they discharge their task with honor. But if our society is the decent, civilized society we believe it to be, and if we are to continue to have respect for it, then we cannot allow officers of the law to go about behaving like the hooligans they are supposed to control. I submit that the issue of whether Constable Bell used reasonable force does not exist because he had no need to use any force at all. I submit he struck Mr. Knight with total disregard for life and limb. And if you agree with this view, you must find the defendant guilty.
Members of the jury, my learned friend has drawn your attention to the pressures that Constable Bell and his colleagues were under on the morning of February the 19th last, and has suggested that the defendant cracked under the strain. She painted a picture of oppressive tension and fearful anticipation. Well, it's a nice melodramatic touch, but it's pure conjecture, and therefore you must reject it. There may have been boredom in the police van that morning, nothing else. So let's forget the melodrama, shall we, and consider the evidence instead. Now, the evidence you've heard points in one direction and one direction only. Police were being attacked that day. Many were injured, some seriously. That is fact. The resistance that Constable Bell encountered from Mr. Knight when he attempted to place him under arrest was just one in a series of such incidents. The puzzle is, members of the jury, and this is an important point for you to consider, the puzzle is why Mr. Knight has brought this action. Why has Mr. Knight fought so tenaciously through the lower courts? Because make no mistake about it, the bringing of this private prosecution to the state where it is before you 12 good people now was a long, complicated, testing and costly affair. Well, you may think that part of the answer to that question lies in something that my learned friend mentioned a few moments ago. She described Mr. Knight as passionate and principled. She drew a picture of him as a stalwart of the community, a caring man with a forgiving nature. But members of the jury, the dividing line between passion and fury is paper thin. and the gap between rigid principles and extremism very easily bridged. See, I would suggest that Mr. Knight is a man intoxicated by his own feelings. I'd go further and say that he suffers from a sense of persecution, a persecution mania. And that when he feels he's being victimized, or that his flock is being victimized, his passion, which my learned friend described to you as being a great virtue, goes completely out of control. You may feel you saw something of the fires of that volcano when Mr. Knight was in the witness box. It's my belief that a further part of the answer to the question, why are we here today, is this. Mr. Knight believes that the persecution of the British Freedom Front is the good fight, and he's reluctant to leave the battlefield. He believes that the British Freedom Front, whose creed he finds reprehensible, should never have been allowed to march through the boroughs at all. More important, he's anxious that such a parade should not take place again. Now, of course, opinions on this matter are divided because, after all, we have a free society. But one thing you can be certain of, members of the jury, this trial has ensured that the argument will remain in the limelight, and that is because Mr. Knight sees it and saw it in exactly the same way as the British Freedom Front saw it, as publicity. Mr. Knight has used the witness box as a platform from which he's lost no opportunity to dispense his political views. And he has, in large measure, succeeded. Because this trial and your verdict, members of the jury, will make news. It may be that the Chief Constable will have second thoughts about allowing another such rally to take place. It may be that your Member of Parliament will raise the issue in the House of Commons. Perhaps the law which you will recall Mr. Knight wanted to put in the witness box will be reviewed by our representatives at Whitehall. Now, you may well agree with Mr. Knight. You may well think that what took place on the streets of Fulchester on February the 19th last was indeed an attack upon one section of the community. You may go further and feel that if some members of the community are victimized, others will follow. And so Mr. Knight's campaign was justified. But you must put your personal sympathies aside. For the price of this publicity is one man's good name and honor. And that price is too high. Now, my learned friend drew your attention to the evidence of Mr. Huck. She put forward the interesting proposition that this evidence had more veracity because the witness was frightened. Well, this is pure psychological speculation. But since the matter has been introduced, I would suggest that you should take quite the opposite conclusion. That conclusion is that after the march was over, Mr. Huck was ashamed because he had taken no part in the protest, and that he has sought to quieten his conscience by redressing the balance from the witness box. Indeed, his very enthusiasm makes his reliability suspect. One final point, members of the jury. There's been no medical evidence that Mr. Knight suffered any long-term physical injury from the actions of Constable Bell. Indeed, his wounds were no more serious than some people get playing rugby on a Saturday afternoon. And so you must take care not to make Constable Bell a sacrificial lamb on the altar of racial harmony. He did his duty, that is all, in the most difficult circumstances. And I submit it is your duty to find him not guilty.
Members of the jury, during the course of this trial, matters have been canvassed which lie outside the scope of the narrow issues with which you are concerned. However, I think it has been an advantage that the background against which the alleged assault took place should have been aired, so that you may have gained some understanding of the background of the case, and in particular of the attitudes and hence the motivations of the persons concerned. Now, having said that, let me remind you that this is a court of law. It is not morals or politics upon which you are being asked to give a verdict. Neither are you required to give a verdict as to what the law should be. Now, there is no doubt that Constable Bell inflicted quite serious injuries on Mr. Knight. However, his defence is that he was only acting in the course of his duty, and that he only used reasonable force to defend himself whilst attempting to effect a lawful arrest. So first I suggest you ask yourself this question. Did Constable Bell intend to inflict grievous bodily harm on Mr. Knight? If he did, then he may be guilty of the offence charged. If he did not so intend, then he could only be guilty of a lesser offence, namely, assault occasioning actual bodily harm. So, first you must decide what offence you are concerned with. Then look at the defence. Now, was Constable Bell attempting a lawful arrest? That is, did he believe on reasonable grounds, whether mistaken or not, that Mr. Knight had committed a breach of the peace? If he did not so believe, his defence fails. If he did believe it, then did Mr. Knight offer to resist? If he did not resist, again the defence fails. If he did resist, was the resistance offered by Mr. Knight sufficiently violent to entitle Constable Bell to use the degree of force which undoubtedly he did use? In other words, was it reasonable in all the circumstances? Now, this is a rather unusual case in that it is not, as is generally so, the Crown that has prosecuted. It is a feature of Anglo-Saxon law that entitles the man in the street to bring a prosecution for an offence he alleges has been done to him. And the right to do so is a splendid example of the equality of the law which we practice, and that law is no respecter of persons, be he a police officer or the humblest of the Queen's subjects. In other words, legal democracy. But, as always, equality has a reverse side to it. It is not simply a privilege. It imposes obligations. And in this case, it means that Mr. Knight must assume the same burden of proof that the Crown normally does. He must satisfy you beyond reasonable doubt. So, now will you please retire? Elect a foreman to speak for you and consider your verdict.
All stand. Members of the jury, will your foreman please stand? Just answer this question, yes or no. Have you reached a verdict upon which you are all agreed?
Yes.
On this indictment, do you find the accused guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Is that the verdict of you all?
Yes.
Very well. Constable Bell, you are free to go.
All stand.